In 1972, MIT researchers determined that society was on a path to collapse by 2040. A subsequent KPMG study revealed we're progressing faster than anticipated. Advanced civilizations have existed for roughly 10,000 years. During this period, numerous grand empires emerged from obscurity and faded back into it, leaving behind mere relics and decaying structures. While historians struggle to pinpoint exact causes of these collapses, the reasons generally align with four broad categories: political challenges, social and cultural shifts, environmental pressures, and, crucially for us, economic factors. Every civilization reduced to a historical footnote succumbed to some mix of these four elements. Some fell swiftly, like Pompeii under Vesuvius eruption. Others, like the Aztec Empire, lasted 93 days against Spanish conquest, and some, like Rome, declined over 3 centuries from its peak. Our modern civilization is unprecedented, vastly wealthier and more advanced than the grandest empires of history could fathom. If you're watching this, you have internet access, a knowledge repository unimaginable to scholars or royalty a century ago. This extends to modern conveniences we overlooked: climate control, global travel, affordable clothing, medicine, instant communication, abundant safe food, readily available water, and even small luxuries like playing your favorite song on demand. A common question I hear is, who was history's richest person? The answer is Elon Musk, who, about a week ago, was worth over $270 billion, though that may shift by the time you see this. What about Rockefeller, the Rothschilds, the Romanovs, or Mansa Musa? They were wealthy for their era, but their era was steeped in widespread poverty. Despite their riches, they couldn't envision the conveniences you take for granted. If I had to choose between my modern 2-bedroom rental and a sprawling 15th-century French palace without air conditioning, plumbing, or safe food, I'd pick the apartment every time. And you'd be unwise not to. I haven't even touched on war yet. Despite what cable news or Reddit's front page might suggest, we're in one of history's most peaceful eras. This is largely due to technology, education, and global collaboration. Even nations with simmering tensions rely on each other more today than the closest allies did in Napoleon's time. Why fight when we can prosper? It sounds shallow, but it's beneficial, though fragile. Comparing our global economy to history's greatest empires is like comparing a jet engine to a donkey, not an exaggeration, but a reflection of our advancement. Yet, this is the issue. A jet engine is faster and stronger than a donkey, but it's less durable. One small flaw in its intricate, interdependent system can render it useless. Worse, its speed and altitude make any glitch catastrophic. Most of us, especially those watching videos on smartphones, wouldn't survive long without easy access to food, sometimes delivered to our door. I'm starting to sound like a frantic doomsday prepper, so let's examine how MIT predicted societal collapse. What metrics did they use to assess whether the world was on a positive or negative trajectory? What did these metrics reveal about how society might unravel? And is the fact that we're ahead of schedule cause for concern, or is this overblown reliance on statistical patterns? The Limits to Growth report explored whether our resource consumption was sustainable. Spoiler: it wasn't. This study was among the first to use computers with dynamic system models. I'm no computer scientist, but system dynamics essentially simulate complex real-world systems in software. This was groundbreaking in the 1960s and 70s, when computers had the processing power of a modern kettle. Despite these constraints, the MIT team developed World 3, a model of the global economy. It tracked variables like population growth and industrial capacity, focusing on their interactions. For instance, a larger population demands more resources, food, water, housing, but also drives innovation. With 8 billion people, we're more likely to produce a Tesla, Da Vinci, or Haber than with 2 billion, the global population a century ago. Economists often joke that changing one economic factor alters at least 3 others. We sometimes assume ceteris paribus, all else equal, to simplify models, like a soda tax raising prices and curbing demand for sugary drinks. But in reality, nothing stays constant for modeling's sake. Predicting the future is tough, nearly impossible without accounting for nearly every variable. That's what World 3 aimed to do, modeling everything from birth rates to agricultural technology. These variables, critical to our modern lifestyle, create feedback loops due to their interactions. Think of a microphone held to a speaker, producing a piercing squeal as the sound amplifies in a cycle. Economies can work similarly. Declining birth rates lead to an aging population, which burdens younger workers with caregiving costs, either directly or through taxes for pensions. This strain reduces their ability to start families, further lowering birth rates. This feedback loop was central to the MIT study. While World 3 modeled hundreds of variables, it focused on 5: population, industrial output, food production, resource availability, and pollution. Published in 1972, before climate change was widely recognized, the study didn't include global temperatures, though it likely would today. These factors are vital to our way of life, but their interactions are even more critical. Consider population and food production. A drop in one affects the other. Which is worse? A population decline reducing food output, or a food shortage causing population decline? Clearly, the latter is more alarming. So, what did the report conclude? Like cautious economists, the researchers avoided precise predictions. A breakthrough like viable fusion energy could have upended their findings the day after publication. Instead, they ran World 3 multiple times, tweaking initial conditions. Some scenarios assumed steady innovation and productivity growth. Others posited exponential technological leaps, like space mining or lab-grown food. Others assumed a technological plateau. A plateau may seem unlikely today, given decades of rapid innovation like Moore's Law, which doubled computing power every 2 years. But we're nearing physical limits on microchip transistors. Quantum computing might extend this trend, or it might not. Much of today's innovation involves companies finding new ways to keep you scrolling through ads. Ironic, since I'm part of that cycle. The researchers varied other factors too: birth rates, recycling rates, resource discoveries, and global trade levels. They averaged the trajectories of the 5 key metrics to predict humanity's path. Despite varied outcomes, most showed a significant decline around 2040. The report focused on scenarios within the standard deviation of results. The comprehensive technology scenario was the most optimistic, assuming technology advances fast enough to support a growing population's needs. Food production dips due to polluted waterways and misused farmland, but innovation mitigates this. Population plateaus around 2040, not from starvation but because wealthier, urban societies have fewer children. Industrial output peaks then declines, but efficiency, think shared autonomous vehicles, offsets this. This reduces pollution and preserves resources. It's not catastrophic, though it halts the exponential living standard growth of the past century. If banking on innovation feels risky, the stabilized world scenario offers an alternative. Here, innovation continues at today's pace, paired with heavy investment in renewables and recycling. Conceived before climate change was a major concern, this focuses on resource depletion and local pollution, not carbon emissions. It resembles the technology scenario but involves proactively reducing industrial output to avoid food shortages and excessive pollution. This was deemed the most optimistic outcome, barring unforeseen technological breakthroughs. Unfortunately, the 2021 KPMG study, led by Gaia Harrington, suggests we're not on this path. Instead, we align with the business-as-usual 2 scenario, a grim outlook. Pollution skyrockets, and recycling remains uneconomical or underfunded. Industrial output peaks higher than in other scenarios, but that's the only bright spot. Food production crashes, causing famines in poorer nations and plummeting birth rates in richer ones. A shrinking workforce and dwindling resources further erode industrial output and prosperity. This is a textbook societal collapse. I'd rather be a middle-class worker today than a king 150 years ago, or, in this scenario, a king 20 years from now. That's chilling. Critics of the report argued it underestimated human ingenuity. They acknowledged our current innovation rate might not avert collapse but believed necessity would spur breakthroughs, shifting us toward the comprehensive technology scenario. Recent surges in renewable energy support this view. Waste management lags, but progress is evident. If you want my take, I'd urge you to read the 1972 and 2021 studies yourself. I'm optimistic by nature, but my opinion pales against research from 17 top economists and scientists, validated by another expert. At best, this is an overblown lesson in the limits of predictive models. At worst, it's time to learn wilderness foraging, maybe